Welcome into Red River North right here on Cord's Southeastern Conference channel. We talk SEC football, SEC athletics, but it would behoove us to speak about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And to do that, I got Brandon Rabar. Brandon, tell everybody who you're with. I know that you're a contributor with us at the franchise. What else you got going on?
Yeah, contribute there with the franchise with you guys. I'm also the beat writer for dailythunder.com. You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Rabar. I also am a co-host of the OKC Dream Team podcast.
The smiling guy from Twitter, aka always be known as to me. Brandon, look, Oklahoma City Thunder coverage. I've come to you for, I mean, since before we met. You're the guy that I've always looked at the tweets, what's going on when they were good, when they were bad, and now they're NBA champs. Talk about the ride that's been.
Yeah, I appreciate that. First of all, it's been a ride. Like my first year covering this team full time was also Shay and Lou Dort's first year. So we've kind of been on this journey together. All equal parts. You know, credit for the championship, right? Shay, Dort, and me. No, it's been an incredible journey because this team that first year was that Chris Paul year, and it was kind of this bridge between that first era of basketball uh, to the rebuild to now. So that was a fun, unexpected year where they make the playoffs, and then the rebuild. But the rebuild happened so quickly. Everybody, thought, famously, were called the black eye of the league, which was ridiculous at the time, even more ridiculous now. But everybody thought that they would be out of the playoffs for years. They were only out of the postseason for 2 years. And here they are completing this journey, full circle moment, see them as NBA champions. It has been a lot of fun to see this team grow into champions.
I mean, you've been there on the ground for every game of this, from the time that they did the rebuild to now. Did you ever think? I know a lot of people at the parade and probably at the game thought deep down they would finally get it, turned around over the hump. Did you really think deep down that this was possible this quick?
When this started, I don't think anybody thought it would happen this quickly. Like even Sam Presti kind of implied the other night after they won the title that, this all came together really quickly and he seemed surprised by it. I don't think anybody saw that. Now, it was very apparent and obvious to me a few things. Shea was a star in the making. That was very apparent very quickly. And he had that mindset to want to be one of the greats and he had the work ethic. So I thought Shea would be a star. They had a building block. I thought Martin Dagnall, and this isn't any credit to me, it's just a credit to him. Very early, I thought this guy might be the best coach the Thunder have ever had. And that was during the rebuilding years. But
Wow.
it was the way that he coached. It was this young team buying in. It was exceeding expectations. It was the way he was developing these guys. So I thought they had a star in the making. I thought they had a coach, and I knew they had all these assets, and they had Sam Presti, who's, his history spoke for itself. So I thought that they would be back. And I thought that, they would be back in the playoffs. They would build a contender again. But happening this quickly, no chance anybody thought that.
Brandon, you go back to like Scott Brooks, Billy Donovan. They would come on after games, or you interview them whenever. They'd say, "Yeah, we're a defense first type team." Yet you'd watch them play and be like, "Yeah, I'm not really seeing that." This team's mantra is defense, and the stats back it up. I mean, talk about just how ridiculously good they were this year defensively.
Oh, I mean, we're talking historic levels of defense. We haven't seen a defense like this. I would argue since that, that Pistons team with Rashid and Ben Wallace, I think this team, if you look in the history of great defenses, it stacks up there. If you look at like opponent field goal percentage, if you look at steals, if you look at blocks, if you look at turnovers, all the things that make a great defense and an impactful defense great, this Thunder team had in spades. And they had the talent personnel wise with Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, even Shea, Kason Wallace, all these guys are positive defenders. You got guys coming off the bench just in waves of defense. They had perimeter defenders, they had rim protection, but more importantly, or I should say equally as important, they all bought in to what Mark Daigneault, like the defense first mentality. And they, Anthony Edwards said after that Wolves series, like this team is like puppets on a string. Like they just all move together. They all know where to be. They all play great individual and team defense. And so when you have the talent, but then you also have the effort and energy and buy-in and the schemes, it makes it one of the historic defenses of all
Well,
time.
let's dive right into the final series, man. Watching every game, of course. Tell me what you think about this take. I said it live on air yesterday. I never thought the Thunder, through this 7-game stretch with the Pacers, I never thought we saw them play their best basketball. I know the Pacers had a lot to do with it, but it never seemed to me like really either team through all 7 games played at their best. And yeah, defensively, both probably had quite a bit to do with that.
Yeah, I think the defense for both teams definitely had a lot to do with that. Because the Pacers, people thought going into this, I think they were underrated, obviously, but the defense went to another level, like the buy-in, and very similar teams as far as like the team effort and buy-in and basketball IQ. So that definitely affected. I think you saw it in waves and like little short spurts. Like for instance, the end of
Right.
game 4, like their backs were against the wall. It looked like they may go down 3-1 on the road. And then Shea took over and hit big bucket after big bucket. And that defense tightened the screws and didn't let the Pacers score like the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game. I think that was a great stretch. But we've seen this team play like that for,
Right.
full games, at least full halves, full quarters. And I think game 7, coming out of the half, that third quarter, we saw, the big 3 each hit a 3, Shea, Chet, Dub. And we saw the defense turn the ball over, score in transition. So like they had a dominant, like thunderish quarter in the most important quarter of the entire series, the entire season. But definitely, I would agree, not a full game where we saw their best. Maybe game 2 would be the closest we saw to that.
I thought there were, periods during game 1. Of course, every time they'd get on one of those runs or just about to start it, Carlisle would use just a tremendous timeout. He timed that up perfect the entire series. The guy's a great coach, and it was a tough series. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Indy have the second best record down the stretch in the NBA this year?
From January 1st, 2025 through the end of the season and postseason, number 1 was OKC, number 2 is Indy. And I think that, tells you a lot about these two teams. Everybody just assumed the East was the Celtics and the Cavs, and the Pacers were just lurking. Everybody forgets that this team went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, still underrated them. First part of the season, they didn't have Nimhard or Neesmith. We saw what a big difference those two guys make. So yeah, this Pacers team was underrated. I think these were the 2 best teams in the NBA since January 1st. They were definitely the 2 best teams in the NBA in the playoffs, and they were the 2 most deserving teams. And going back to what you said, I think maybe the 2 best coaches in the NBA at this point as well, between Carlisle and Daigneault.
Red River North, right here. We're got Brandon Rabar on. Pleased to be joined by Randy Heights. Randy, I know that you love talking OKC Thunder, but they are the NBA.
Yay!
We've talked a little bit about.
Come back.
Oh, Randy, I know you just have question after question.
We can tag. I can tag Randy in and I tag
No,
out. I
I'm
guess.
kidding. I thought it was 7:15. Sorry, I got my times mixed up. We've been doing 7:15. I don't know what I was thinking. What's sad is I'm just sitting down there on my patio, and I was like, "Oh, I'm joining 5 minutes early," and I realized I'm not joining 5 minutes early.
Well, the good part is you missed out on 10 minutes of Thunder Talk, so now you only have to put up with 5 minutes of it. So that's good.
No,
You got
it's
any
all good.
questions?
Brandon knows it.
Yeah. If you
No,
want to
I
have any
mean,
questions,
really,
fire away.
I want to ask. I mean, yeah, it's easy to talk championship and everything. Yeah, I know everyone's like all excited for that, but tonight is draft. I don't know if you guys have got into it yet. I mean, I know the game of the NBA. I know what's going on. In the sense of where they're at, roster limits. You got 3 draft picks tonight. We all think they're going to move up, unless something happened in the last hour that I missed. I mean, how do you feel like they're going to work this tonight, just to kind of get everything in line going forward after tonight?
Yeah, no, that's a big question because, like you said, every single player on this roster is signed for next year, so their max capacity, 15 guys. I think with the 2 first-round picks, 15 and 24, more than likely they're targeting a player, whether that's Cedric Coward, Thomas Sorber, Colin Murray, Boyles. There's a few guys I think that they might really like. Maybe they combine 15 and 24 to move up to 11 or 12 and get their guy. And then, maybe you move an Usman Zhang or a Dylan Jones. Every other guy is really a rotation player that deserves minutes. And so I can't see any other guys besides maybe those two. Those would be the guys I look at. Like maybe you put a Usman Zhang, since this is the last year of his deal, into a trade as a sweetener to move up a few spots.
Brandon, and I know you probably have other questions, Dave. I thought that was funny. I know Daniel Bell and I were talking on Monday, at the parade coming up on Tuesday. It's like, this is the thing that's screwed up about the NBA that, here's the final ends and in 72 hours you're having the draft. And Daniel and I were joking, what's sad? He says, there's going to be guys on that float on Tuesday that aren't going to be on the team come Thursday. It's like they don't even get that time to enjoy. Like, hey, we won a championship. Oh wait, I'm packing my bags to go to Utah. What happened? It's kind of weird. I've always wondered why the NBA doesn't go, hey, you know what? Why don't we do the draft? And I know there's a summer league, but why don't we do the draft? I don't know, mid-July. At least give everyone a chance to breathe. After the championship.
Yeah, Randy leaking the script. It looks like it's gonna be a trade up to the Jazz at number 5. I like that call. I like
wherever
that.
you get punished, right?
Bam. Did I just see that Cooper Flagg went to the Mavs while we've been talking?
That was a
yes.
shot.
Yeah, yeah, big shocker. Cooper Flagg to the Mavs. The draft really doesn't start till number 3. I agree with Randy though. More than likely, one or two of these guys won't be on the team. That's why I think it's cool that they at least got the championship parade and soaked that in and had their moment. And Mayor David Holt kind of like made all these guys, like gave them Oklahoma immortality by giving them all a day in Oklahoma. So no matter what happens to any of these guys from here on out, they'll always be like a part of championship Oklahoma City lore now.
Well, Brandon, I know you got to go hoop tonight. I got one more question for you. Looking ahead to next year, where can this team get better? And Topic coming into the rotation, possibly. I mean, does that do it? A lot of people aren't talking about that guy.
Yeah, I think Topic would provide playmaking and ball handling off the bench, which is something, we saw that they could have used in the playoffs, another ball handler. So Topic, that's his skill set. He attacks the rim and he passes the ball and he creates for others. I think he could be a big help. He was a projected top 4 or 5 pick last year before he got hurt. Shooting, I think they will always welcome some more shooting and maybe a big to eventually replace Isaiah Hartenstein if they can't afford him in a couple years. So that's what I'd look at: creating a shooter and maybe a backup big to groom for Hart.
Hey, real fast, one other thing. I think it's funny. We were talking about the last time the Thunder were in the finals was 2012. We all remember what happened that following fall. That's when James Harden was traded. I don't think anything like that's going down this year in the offseason.
But it's also, it's kind of that time where you get some of these guys big deals coming up with the salary cap. And I know they're willing to go into the tax, but, it's like, not this year, but in the next couple of years, it's going to be really interesting I think, to watch this team and figure out what Sam wants to do. Like, who's going to be that first piece when they're like not rebuilding, but just going, you know what? We're not going to apron number 3 or 4, of the salary cap. That's what's going to be interesting to watch, I think, over the next few years.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Shea, Dub, and Chet, those 3 are like the guys that they're going to build around. And then, like you said, the team gets really expensive in a few years. So, like the other guys, like, will Lou Dort take like a team-friendly deal? Alex Caruso, sign long-term, but, can they afford to keep him? And Hartenstein, then Cason Wallace's contract comes up eventually. They got Wiggins and Joe to really nice deals right now. But, juggling the salaries on a really successful team. Thankfully for the Thunder, next year is all locked in, and you still have rookie contracts for a couple years after that. But like you said, the role players that you build around, the big 3, very interested to see what happens here in a few years when all those contracts come up.
Because we're seeing it with Boston right now. That's why I bring it up. It's just interesting when all that starts happening. hard decisions get made. Dylan Harper, by the way, just went number 2.
There we go. So those were the two we predicted. Now it gets really interesting at number
Now the
3.
draft starts.
Yeah.
Randy
Yep.
already plotting the downfall of the Thunder.
I'm not plotting the downfall.
It's
2
the
days away
world
from the
of
championship.
who cares? You got to plan for the future. You can only celebrate so long. It's like, come on now. You
Next
got to
year,
look to the future.
Brandon, before you go hoop, give me some title odds to go back to back. It's been 9 years? Can Oklahoma City do it next year?
I think they can do it. They return the same team. They should, if anything, they get better because they're young guys, and Dub should be better, Chet should be better, Casey Wallace. You add Topic. Obviously health is the big unknown. If they're healthy, they've got as good a chance to repeat as any team we've seen in a really long time.
All right, Brandon Rabar, thank you so much for joining us, man. Go show old dudes how to play basketball tonight.
Old man game tonight. Appreciate it. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Randy.
right,
Have a good night.
See you, Brandon.
See you guys.
Randy, it was apropos talking about the Thunder. He's been on the ground since this rebuild started, man. He was with, the SGA and J-Dub class that came in and kind of started this. What it meant to him and what it meant to Oklahoma City, you could tell yesterday in the parade. Just a lot of pride. Anytime I've been asked, it's always the bombing and tornadoes is what is known for this city. That changed yesterday.
It did. But I mean, I think a lot of people see that, and I totally get the change. I was here in the city, and I was working in the media. I do think the city's been known for a lot more than that, just from the 2012 year alone. I mean, what the Thunder have brought, to this team and athletics, and it feels like the saving grace or not saving grace, but the thing for this city that's always, been known and helped get over tragedy where people can focus on the positive has been the sports, and it came full circle yesterday.
Yeah, it did. I know you were on pins and needles watching Game 7 to get them over the finish.
I was. As soon as
Halliburton got hit, I turned it off because I really thought there was I honestly thought there was, watching Halliburton come out and play, there was a decent shot they were going to lose that game. And I was
If
like,
he plays the
this is
entire game, I mean, look, he had 9 points, I think, at 4 or 5 shooting when he went out. He was on one, as they say. When he
I was
got
like,
this is what I want to see right here. Taliban going off, and no, he blows his Achilles.
what
It's disgusting.
what would have been the programming on the franchise the next day had Oklahoma City lost? How would that?
I wouldn't have had to listen
About some celebration thing. I'll be honest. I'll be dead honest with you. Listen to the franchise the least amount I've ever listened to it on Monday. I'm like, great. I get to hear about, oh, yeah, we went to we're going to the parade. This is what it was like in the arena. Who cares? Get out. It's the freaking NBA. Yay.
You know what? A good
What's
note to
great
that.
is I hope the
Graphic today happens, Dave, that I saw. If they can pull this off, yes, it will upset the NBA world, but yes, the Lakers will be back. If somehow they get Jokic in the offseason to go with Doncic and James,
Yeah.
sign me up for that. That's why I was like, yes, please. Let the Lake Show
Don't put
come
it
back.
past LA. If any team can pull it
That's-
off, they can.
well, just the fact that
The guy spent $10 billion. You don't think he's going to stand pat?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I'll be honest. Hey, small markets, Oklahoma, and I am happy Oklahoma City has a team. It's great for the city, everything. Small markets are great, but the NBA is better when the Lakers are good.
That's a
without-
take, and I agree with. Look, if you're the average sports fan out there that maybe watches the NBA once a year and that's the finals, and you saw the Pacers and the Thunder opposed to the Knicks and Lakers, you're probably not going to watch it. So in that regard, I do have to agree.
But
It's better-
Game 7 was great. Look at the viewing numbers. That was really good. But just,
It's that way across all sports. I freaking hate the Yankees, and I'm a huge baseball fan. Baseball is better when the Yankees are good. Because as much as people hated on the Thunder, everyone, or at least all the Oklahoma City people, thought, oh, the national media is hating them. No, the fans are a bunch of sensitive little bitches. It's just the simple fact that, when the Lakers are good, that gives the world a universal team to hate. When the Yankees are good, that gives the world a universal team to hate. Yeah. Do Pacer fans not like the Thunder? Yes. Do Nugget fans not like the Thunder? Yes. But your average NBA fan that wasn't in the NBA playoffs, they didn't have a team to hate in this playoffs. There's nothing to hate about the Thunder. There's nothing to hate about the Pacers. And that's why I say when the Lakers are good, when the Celtics are good, because I hate the Celtics, can't stand the Celtics. When they're good, that's that's what you want. Everyone loves the evil empire. Everybody loves to hate the evil empire, I guess I should say.
No, that's right. I mean, you say like Alabama, maybe Notre Dame makes the playoff. If the other team, if people don't give a shit who they're playing, they're going to root for whoever they're playing to beat Notre Dame or Alabama. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing with the Yankees and bigger market teams. The one good thing that might come out of this, in your perspective, though, it has shown other sports that Oklahoma City can sustain a major league franchise, maybe one of the big three, maybe another sports team rolls around one of these days. Hockey, baseball, I could see that.
I think
You know what's really weird is I feel like hockey's the other team that would work,
Right.
but also I don't, because the Thunder are so established and in there, and they go on at the same time. If hockey was a sport that started in April and ended in August, I'd feel better about that happening. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As much as the city's growing, I don't know if they could support, basically two major professional teams that go on simultaneously.
Well, you just said it. I mean, Oklahoma City used to be Oklahoma City. Now it's Mustang, Jones, Norman, Moore, Edmonds. So there were a lot of people at the parade yesterday that weren't at the game the day before. I don't know. That might be an intriguing conversation that takes place coming up.
I would love to see
baseball. Don't get me wrong. I would but I don't know. I mean, like everyone, it's always funny, and this goes for
I don't
hockey
think baseball
fans.
could. I don't think baseball could make it here. I don't.
I don't think it
It could either, but it's like everyone. It's like there's guys where it goes. No one goes to baseball games. Like guys, you don't realize they average 30,000 fans a game. Baseball games do. They do that for what is it, 81 games a year?
Right.
It's like that's pretty good. That's why I'm like when people say baseball can make it. And to your point, that's why I don't know if Oklahoma City could be where they're averaging 20,000, 30,000 fans a game that many nights a year, where they could be competitive. I mean, look at the Pirates. They don't average that, and they're not competitive.
Right. I mean, that's part of it, though. We just saw it with talking OU, season ticket renewals and how many people want to go and get tailgating spots. You have to be good on the field and at least competitive. If a baseball team came and won, I guarantee you the bandwagon fans would show up, but it would take a while to, be a new franchise. It always does.
Yeah, it's like
anything. It's just like the Thunder. Let's be honest. I mean, if they start sucking again, now they're coming off the high of a championship. It may take 2 or 3 years, but if they went through a Sixers trust the process rebuild,
oof.
No, it's like we always say, and I think Brandon said on the franchise the other day, or Switzer. Yeah, they could catch like Oklahoma football because football's king no matter where you go, whether it's NFL or major college. If you got a team close to you, right?
Right.
But the Thunder could catch them, but it's going to take
20 more years of
sustained success because that's to the point of Oklahoma. They like winners. If you start losing, guess what? Yeah, okay, we'll see you next time. It's a nice thing to go to. It's not the passion, and that's just Oklahoma fans. I mean, we've seen it I've said that for everyone that griped and wanted a bigger Love's Field, and I think it's awesome what Patty's done and the attendance they get. But I think one reason Oklahoma did that, Patty leaves, and let's just say JT doesn't have the success, they're probably not averaging the amount of fans. So you don't want an 8,000-seat softball stadium with 2,000 fans in it. That passion, it dies down until you just have that generation after generation of history of going to the games and watching the success.
Well, and let's be honest, there are people that go to softball games for Oklahoma because it's a guaranteed win. I mean, 99.9% of the time, they're going to leave happy, and that they know that going to the game, investing in money to go to the game. So that makes that choice easier, and that's why their attendance is up. That's the only way I see this dynasty maybe slowing down as Patty steps away. I have no idea when that's going to happen, but that's the only way I see it stopping because they are stacked yet again.
And after that, they
have to not win, which I think JT's
right.
a hell of a coach, and I don't expect that drop off. But I'm just saying, we've seen it. We've seen it in football. I mean, Switzer had it rolling, and he went away. Gibbs was everyone's favorite. Now everyone acts like no one came to the games. They still average 65,000 fans a game. Because, again, football is huge. It's a once-a-week thing. It's a lot easier to continue to support something that struggles with the belief it can get better. But, again, when that happened, Dave, that was what, 80 years of football?
Yeah.
That was sustained
My dad took me, I'm taking my kids, my dad's dad took him. It's like that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It takes the generational where it's not just this generation taking their kids, it's that kid's generation taking his kids, and stuff. Where then it becomes an every time thing, and that's why, like, if a baseball team moved here and struggled, I don't think it would make it because people are like, I'm not wasting my money on that. I love having it here. We'll go to the games here and there when the Yankees come to town, when the Dodgers come to town.
Sure.
And that's what I will say this. That's what ended up working out so well about this rebuild for the Thunder. They caught some breaks with draft picks falling right. And actually, I mean, because we've seen it. Draft picks for other teams. Hey, this guy's a can't miss prospect. Guess what? He missed. You know, they they got lucky in the sense of all the guys panned out of this last rebuild. Because it didn't
Yeah.
pan out in 2012, Dave,
No,
when they
it
tried to
didn't.
do it. And that's what I'm saying. That helped out tremendously.
I think a big aspect of this, Brandon kind of touched on it before you joined us. A guy that's not being talked about enough that should be was somebody that I thought when he got the job, it was a filler. I'd never heard of the guy. Well, I kind of did. He coached in the G League, whoop-de-doo, but I thought he would get them kind of past the rebuild hump and go hire a big name. Mark Dagnall has shot to the front of the list as far as one of the best coaches in the NBA. That guy deserves a ton of credit, not only for how they play, but the buy-in. I mean, this team really does believe defense is the way, and you can all tell that they're damn sure trying out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you're not the only one, Dave. Everyone that covered the Thunder thought when he's here, okay, he's brought in because he's coached some of these guys in the G
Right.
League. He knows how to handle young guys. He will be the guy that gets them to that level, and then they go bring in that coach that they want to be the coach. Again, a lot of these things, and we can give Presti credit, and you should for doing that. But a lot of it's just it worked,
Right.
whether it's you giving credit or just, hey, you know what? Didn't have any guy that flamed out that was one of our top 10 picks. They all ended up being top 10 worthy type guys that live up to that reputation. Because I'm telling you right now, Edgecombe from Baylor just went number 3. There's going to be guys in this top 10 tonight. We'll be going, who's that? In 5 years. Who is that
Let's
guy?
call it like it is, man. I mean, to win a championship, you have to have some lucky breaks. You have to have everything fall your way to get there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and
People, I'm not bad mouthing, but again, this year, Ja Morant, they weren't going to lose the series to Memphis, but they could have been stretched a little longer, but he gets hurt. They ended up finishing that series up. You
Gordon.
look at as I say, the Nugget series, game 7, Gordon's playing out of his mind. Oh, he gets hurt right before game 7, and we all admit he could barely move, so he's a non-factor. That game's over. Halliburton, I mean, it's like that's part of winning an NBA championship. That's part of winning a Super Bowl. A lot of the things have to go right, and that's why it will be interesting next year in the playoffs because a lot of times Thunder went healthy all through the playoffs. I've seen it time and time again where the next year rolls around. Oh, and I don't mean major injuries, but this guy got a little banged up. Like we joked the other day on the air, Dave, about J Dub's ankles, how they're made of rubber.
Gumby.
It's like it is next year he does that in the playoffs. Is that one where it's done and he misses 3 games of the series and they end up falling? It's like just breaks went their way, and that's what it takes to win a title. You take advantage of said breaks.
Yeah, you don't have a Patrick Beverly rush Russell Westbrook and tear a meniscus in the playoffs. That shit happens. It didn't happen to OKC this year. It happened to everybody else they played. And I'm not saying that's why they won it. I think they'd have won it anyway. But, yeah, it would have been a tougher road. I can't believe we've spent 30 minutes talking about it.
I was just saying, just real fast, go back to the Beverly thing. Like, people talk about that like he was being a dirty player and everything like that. How many times have we all sat there and watched basketball players running for a ball and collide knees, right?
Oh,
Back
yeah.
to about how flukes go against you. And the guy goes and sits on the bench for 3 or 4 minutes and comes back in.
Sure.
It's like, that's kind of what I mean by, like, all those things, every little one of those avoided the Thunder this year. I mean, look at the Celtics. They were starting to get to that point. Jason Tatum blows his Achilles. It's like, like all those things. And that's what you need to win a title. I mean, I'll go back to, as we switched to OU, 2022. OU is a great team. You look at some of those pitchers and everything like that, and there's a reason they made the championship. Until the World Series,
Brett Squires.
They had 0 injuries.
Yep.
That's how they were able to steam through a regional and super regional.
Yep.
Some other teams had injuries, it benefited Oklahoma. Next thing you know, they're healthy and they're going through and they're just like kicking ass and taking names. And like you said, Brett Squires, I still say to this date, the way Mississippi was playing, I don't think Oklahoma probably wins that series. But that being in the lineup for Oklahoma is a huge difference.
He was a game changer that year. When he came back from being hurt against Texas Tech, he gave them another guy in the lineup at the bottom of the lineup that was a run producer, could hit the ball over the wall, was very consistent. I'll go the opposite direction. I think they beat Ole Miss, won the national championship if he stays healthy. I think he was.
I would like to think that, but I'm just saying Mississippi was so hot, Dave. I don't know.
Yeah, they were.
I would love to think that. I'm with you though.
And they're an SEC team, which they just win regardless who they're playing. So yeah. I mean, OU now.
By the way, draft update. Knepel just went to Charlotte. Second Duke player in the top 4.
Yikes! I think that makes 7 top 5 picks for Duke overall.
And they're just reloading for next year. What do you want to talk about? We can switch gears out of the NBA. I'll kind of keep you updated on the draft. I've got it on out here on the patio. And because what we're watching here, too, is Fears. I think in the next 3 picks, I got a feeling we're going to see Fears go off the board.
Yeah, what a story he became. Finally got Porter over the hump into the NCAA tournament for the first time in 4 years. We're probably talking about a new Oklahoma basketball coach right now. So a lot of credit to Jeremiah Fears.
No doubt. And how about, one other thing real fast on the draft, how about the sad news with Jalen Moore? Saturday, blowing his Achilles in the Spurs workout.
What's
and
going
he
on
was a guy. I'm sorry, what, Dave?
What's going on with the Achilles around here, man?
I don't know. And I feel bad for Jalen because he probably wasn't going to make a roster. But I really think a team would have probably taken a flyer on him. And he could have been kind of like what Lou Dort was with the Thunder if he found the right organization. Maybe the Spurs who he is working out with. He gets on there, becomes a two-way player because he's that type of athlete. And he can still do that maybe next year, but it's a longer road when you consider there's going to be another crop of players that are coming out as he's trying to rehab that. It's just going to make it that much harder for him to make the NBA.
Well, and those Achilles injuries just take so long to get back to normal. Some never do. And my heart breaks for Jalen Moore. Made the decision to come back and help Oklahoma last year, and he was a vital part of making the tournament. I'm with you. He's athletic enough to make a team. He just has to be given a chance. Now that chance is taken away, and that sucks. But, Randy, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the College World Series national champion, the LSU Tigers, and Dave Van Horn's Arkansas team. Good God. Look, I think they're the best team in college baseball this year, the Razorbacks. They're not going to win a national championship. They didn't. They're snake bit in Omaha for whatever reason. There's a lot of blame and finger pointing to Dave Van Horn. I'm not sure why. Players have to make plays, but it's just something in their head when they're up there they cannot get past.
Yeah, it's weird whether it's, the National Player of the Year making a mental mistake. Just head-scratching moments. And we knew, we said we both had Arkansas win it, and we thought whoever came out of their side of the bracket was going to win the title because I think both of us thought LSU and Arkansas are the 2 best teams there. And, wow, man, I feel bad for them. But at the same time, I'm not a big fan of Arkansas fans, a lot of them. I kind of chuckle a little. It's like, oh, Dave, you did it again. But that's just me. And I'm not Mr. SEC as Oklahoma's in the SEC.
Sure.
I'll admit, I was rooting for Coastal Carolina. I thought how great a story would that have been? They've been to 2 College World Series, and if both of them, they take home national titles.
I'd
that would have been incredible.
The problem is, LSU had $5 million, I hear, in NIL to spend. They put that towards Cade Anderson, Andrew Ianson. The problem is that Coastal had to face those 2 guys back-to-back. Those are major league pitchers right now for LSU. Regardless, I don't think LSU, top to bottom, was that great of a team this year. I do think Jay Johnson's a very good coach, kind of adapting, what they did well to what his team did well. But you have those 2 guys going back-to-back, you're going to win a national championship. If all you have to do is win 2 games, and that's damn sure what happened. I think Coastal, top to bottom, is probably better, but LSU just has the 2 best starters.
And LSU reminded me a lot of Oklahoma's 22 team when you talk about, now granted, I think you had 3 arms that year that were really high level, which we're seeing in the minors right now, that were really high level. But LSU had to do exactly what Oklahoma had to do to get to the national title series. If they stayed undefeated, which they did, with those arms you're talking about, they weren't going to be beat, Dave.
Yep.
That's why game one against Arkansas was pivotal for the Razorbacks. They had to win that game to where all of a sudden LSU, when you get into that second game against them, maybe they're not throwing Kate Anderson at you. You know, maybe they're not having an Iverson, or they're having to go with one of those guys, if you will, because I know Kate didn't really throw against them in that second game. But you know, maybe they're having to use one of those guys on short rest because their back's against the wall.
Right.
But when you have those frontline guys like that, it is so important in that week and a half long tournament to just stay undefeated.
DeGrom lost the no-hitter. We're getting a.
We ended up losing it. Dang.
I wasn't going to bring it up because when you do that, it gets jinxed. Didn't matter.
Second night in a row, though. How about that for the Rangers? Second night in a row, the Rangers. Because what inning are they in? Did he take it into the eighth? I guess.
He needed
Yeah.
six more. Didn't get it.
Last night, Latz took it into the seventh with a no hitter. Tonight, Rain. Wow, that's pretty impressive for the Rangers. I'm back.
So
Now let's just make sure they don't blow
last night somebody brought it up when it was going on before the seventh started. They brought up how many he'd faced, and lo and behold, like gave up 3 home runs immediately after the tweet. Calvin and I were going nuts about the baseball jinx, but I don't see anything like that. Reeves Mitchell.
The Rangers had the countdown on the screen, Dave.
Oh, you can't do that, man. You're
It
killing.
was
These are
6
kids.
Yeah.
These are kids in charge of social media that have no idea about the sports jinx stuff. You just don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it was like after the first out in the six and a third innings, no hit ball. 6 and 2/3. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you
it's killing
doing?
me.
I know.
Well, if the Rangers going to win, they need pitching like that. Offense just ain't it this year. But Randy, let's switch gears, man. We got the SEC Media Days coming up next month over in Atlanta, Georgia. A lot of talk about this yesterday about OU guys that possibly might go. I have to think 2 from offense, 2 from defense, like always. I think John Mateer probably goes face of the program. Beyond that, you know, offensively, I don't know. Jaden Gibson is really good with the public and talking. Maybe Javonte Barnes, he's back as kind of a leader at running back. So defense is the one side I'm not really sure about. You got guys like Bowman, Stutzman last year. That was a no-brainer. This year, not quite sure. Robert Spears Jennings maybe takes up a spot.
Yeah, I think RSJ definitely does. I really think probably Kobe McKenzie, because he's such a good talker. He's well spoken. You know, a lot of people think he's going to move into Stutzman's slot, you know, this fall. That makes a lot of sense. Other than that, maybe you look at the defensive line and you know, go from there. You know, maybe a Jaden Jackson. I don't think it'd be David Stone. Or do you go Grayson Halton? Is that who makes an appearance? Because I'll bring it up. I have to look it up again. I had it online because I had the magazine for Phil Steele. But did you see the rankings?
I saw like a tweet from some other outlet. I didn't really get into it though.
Yeah,
It was positioned for OU, right?
Yeah, I will find it for you. And this is why, like, and granted, it's all pretty much his opinion, but at the same time, his
I found
opinion is pretty good.
All right.
I mean, these rankings are ridiculous.
For Phil Steele, where each OU position group ranks in the SEC. Quarterback, 4th. Okay, I can buy that. Top 5 in the SEC for John
I mean,
Mateer.
think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, think who would be in front of him? Nussmeier at LSU.
Lenoris Sellers, South Carolina.
Jackson Arnold. No, yeah, Sellers.
Oh.
Sellers at South Carolina.
Peyton
would be
or Peyton Manning, Arch Manning, maybe.
Arch Manning in Texas, maybe. Or what's his name at Florida? I can't think right now. The kid that was a freshman last year. God, what is his name? Lagway.
DJ Lagway, yes.
I mean, I could see either one of those guys being in front of him, you know, being a newcomer. But yeah, 4th, Dave. That's pretty good. What do you got else there?
That's pretty good. I mean, that's top 5 in the SEC. Running back, no surprise. I don't think this is a shock. 1st in the SEC.
We talked about it yesterday. Deepest room on the roster.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Talking to jinxes, man.
Yeah.
We have to though. Look. Taylor Tatum's good. 56 carries, 278, 3 touchdowns a year ago. Xavier Robinson, 49 carries, 230 yards, 4 touchdowns. Javonte Barnes, 122 carries, 577, 5 touchdowns. But Randy, Jaden Ott, year before last when he was healthy, 245 carries, 1,305 yards, and 12 touchdowns. This guy is a difference maker. Talked about it yesterday. It's kind of concerning to me that Jim Nagy got on campus and looked around and said, you know what, that running back room ain't it. And they spent the money and went out and got Jaden Ott. I think if there was that much confidence that Taylor Tatum and Xavier Robinson was it, that probably would have been left alone. Just my opinion.
I get, and I think you're probably right, but also I could look at it this way because Nagy's managing it like an NFL team, right?
Sure.
And to me, the GM in the NFL, it isn't always that like, oh, that room's not it. But when there's something out there that is just too, I mean, again, PFF ranks him as the number 2 back in the NFL draft for next year.
Crazy.
When that is out there, you know, is it that he doesn't think the room was it, or just going, you know what?
You have to get it.
He's interested in Oklahoma. We're interested in him. Yeah, let's go get him. I mean, that's the only thing I don't think we know. Is it the fact he doesn't think that room was it, or just the fact, hey, Ott's interested in us? How do we?
Well,
say
I
no?
mean, if you're Jim Nagy and you hear that, you pick up the phone at Jaden Ott. He's like, "Hey, I want to come there." You're like, "Jaden, we've got 2 really good running backs, you know, already established." And he says, "I don't care. I want to compete." You can't say no to that.
Yeah.
So if that's what happened, I get it.
And especially if Nagy feels like PFF does, that he may be the first or second best running back in the country. I mean, you don't go, no, I'm sorry, we're really stacked here. You know, that's what I'm saying. We don't know the philosophy in that room. I'm with you. In a way, it kind of looks like maybe he wasn't confident in the room. But was it just, I'm not telling this kid no?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not telling the guy no. I don't care who I have. That's basically it. I don't care who's on the roster. I'm not going to tell that guy no. You know, Xavier Robinson last year burst on the scene late. Talked about this a little bit yesterday. What makes it more impressive to me is he was going up against defenses last year that had absolutely no respect for Oklahoma's passing game at all. He was running into 7, 8-man boxes, pretty much every carry against pretty good defenses in the Southeastern Conference. Still looked really good. That's why I have so much faith in X coming into this year, because he is going to have a quarterback that teams will not only have to defend against the pass, but Mateer is a very good rusher as well, and actual weapons on the outside, and an offensive line that can't be worse than last year. So I'm really excited to see this guy tote the football.
Don't get me wrong, I'm very excited to see him too, but I'll go with bold prediction and just saying here, I think he gets the 3rd most touches this year.
Behind Jaden Ott and who?
I think Tatum.
Okay.
mean, and the only reason I say that, and I can be proven wrong in game 1. And what I mean by that is if he takes care of the ball, I kind of wonder if that's why they also went and got Ott. I feel like Tatum can be Ott. And it's like, hey, here, young man, go learn from this guy. You know? And that's kind of where I'm like, I'm interested to see. But I don't know, I've just got a feeling I've heard some good things about Tatum and workouts that maybe, just maybe, we may actually see what they thought Taylor Tatum was going to be last year, see that somewhat this year.
We saw flashes of it, though, right? Against Tennessee in the first half before he got hurt. I mean, you could see why he was the number 1 ranked all-purpose back in high school coming out at the running back spot. He's a home run threat every time he touches the football. The good news for Oklahoma, you got a couple of those guys in the backfield this year to go along with an OC that won't have his head up his ass and have no plan week in, week out. So I'm excited about this room.
And I think Blaylock excites me a lot this year too. I'm really interested to see.
Was he hurt his senior year of high school?
I
couldn't find stats for 24.
Maybe he was. I didn't think he was, but I can't remember.
I found his junior stats, but nothing senior. That might explain why he dropped a little bit.
Yeah, maybe he was hurt. Yeah. You know what? Now that you say that, I do believe he was hurt. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. That room's stacked. That's the
so
point.
Real fast, go through the rest of the rankings, because I mean, for people that think, like, oh, when Dave and Randy talk about it, maybe they're being extra positive. These are Phil Still's rankings.
Nope.
Where OU ranks in the SEC, and we went through quarterback, we went through running back. What are some of the others?
Yeah, Randy and I don't sprinkle sugar on turds. Anybody listening should know that by now. Quarterback 4, running back number 1. These are position groups in the SEC ranked. Wide receivers. Kind of the one question mark I have, 7th. The offensive line, 5th in the SEC. That's really good. Defensive line, number 1 in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah.
Linebackers. Woo. Linebackers, number 1 in the SEC.
That's with losing an All-American. What have I been saying about the linebacker unit? It's not taking anything away from Stutzman. I don't feel like there's going to be a drop-off.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to take anything away from the guy either. I get where you're coming from. The only thing that will have to be replaced is what he meant on the field and off leadership-wise. Until that happens, I don't know. I don't know how much really that plays into wins, losses on the field. Quite a bit, to be honest. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. He's got him ranked number 1 in the Southeastern Conference. That's big. The other one that I kind of question, defensive back, 9th in the SEC. I think a lot hinges on Gentry Williams' health or lack thereof this season. Special teams, 7th in the SEC, and coach, 9th in the SEC.
Which I think is about right. I mean, is Brent the worst? Is he the best? But if he actually has all the pieces in the right place, let's see where he ranks after this year. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
right.
I mean, up until now, I can't argue with that. If he'd have put him at 11th, I can't argue with that. I mean, there have been head-scratching things that have happened under the Brent Venables tenure last year, trying to milk a win against Houston. A guy rips his helmet off late with a 15-yard penalty. Jumping off sides at Auburn right before the half, before they're about to kick a field goal, which they missed, but you jump off sides and give them another shot. Luckily, they missed it. But, Randy, those are the things throughout a game that lose you games. That's why he's got 2 losing seasons. So it's more than just getting a quarterback and having players on defense. You got to make the right in-game management stuff happen, too.
And that's why I think we'll see. But first step to doing some of that is having exactly what we're seeing in those rankings there, where that team in the SEC truly ranks in the top half in most of those categories. That helps you with a lot of your in-game decisions. Now they just got to pull it off on the field, right?
That's it. We got to wait till kickoff. Look, I'm very excited to see the running backs, obviously. Defensive line, yeah, being ranked number 1. I could see an argument, for number 1 in the SEC. The fact he's got him ranked number 1, I can't disagree. David Stone, Jaden Jackson, Dominique Williams, Grayson Halton. That's just the interior rotation. That's 4 guys with a ton of talent, very versatile up front.
And if David develops, I think that's 4 guys, and I'm not going to say be high-level draft picks, but 4 guys that you'll all see play on Sunday, I think.
No doubt about it. And that's not talking about the edge with Ormason Thomas back, bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
Marvin Jones Jr. on the other edge, a couple of speedy pass rushers. PJ Adebawore, if he can take a step, speaking of playing on Sundays, he will if he can figure it out up here.
100%. By the way, Trey Johnson just went number 6 overall, the Texas forward guard, and he's dressed like Angus from AC/DC.
I love it. Where did he go?
He went to the Wizards.
Well,
But yeah, it's like short suit. It reminds me of Angus, from AC/DC. I'm like, all right, that's a different look.
It might be different, but I'll tell you, Trey Johnson's a baller, though, man. Watch out, NBA. Yeah, that could play. Let's get out of here and keep an eye out for our guy Fears to get drafted. I'm sure coming up in the next couple picks. I can't wait to follow the career of that guy. Really meant a lot to you basketball with his one and done a season ago.
Yeah, I know. I think it's going to be fun to follow his career. And we know Oklahoma City is going to move up. It'd be funny to see if, let's say, Fears falls to the 11th area. Would that be a guy they pick? They don't really need another guard, but really they don't need anything. They just need 1 player on the roster instead of 3, like they have draft picks for right now.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was getting at with Brandon. Like, where can they get better? What are they looking to do? They don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Is it pretty much just get everybody back in the fold next year and get after it? Yes, that should be the answer.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's I think what they'll be doing. Just kind of like, what's a good? It wouldn't even shock me if they found a way to find a European guy that they could stash for a while. Somebody they didn't need, but they were very positive about. I mean, we've seen Presti do that before, and this is definitely a roster. Do you really want to mess with it too much at all?
You shouldn't. I mean, the guys are about to get NBA title rings made. One last question.
Yeah.
Talked about this with Kelly yesterday. How much do you think each NBA championship ring for each player will cost? I was thinking like 50 to 100 G's.
I'm going to go ahead and say I bet 100 G's. I bet
Okay.
100 G's because I'm trying to think like the Rangers World Series rings a couple of years ago. Were they 60 or 70? And I'm just thinking inflation. Everyone always wants to do something new and creative.
Right.
You know, I bet I bet 100 G's, man. It's crazy.
Have some
Yeah.
bling, and they earned it this year, no doubt about
And
it.
yet, what's sad is they spend 100,000 on these rings. And you talk to a lot of players, they never wear it again.
No.
They
What
want
do
to
you?
wear 100 grand on their finger and take a chance of losing it.
Yeah, well, or just go downtown OKC where they have shootings and stuff, and flash it around. Be like, yeah, look what I've got, everybody. What do you do with that? Just stick it in the curio cabinet and look at it every day, I guess.
I think Kelly said his is actually in a safe.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Now, Switzer was up there the other day. He still wears his Super Bowl ring. So, I mean, everyone's different, but you see a lot of guys that don't wear the rings. And, it's kind of like they're so big, too. That's the thing. You've seen championship rings. I feel like they've surpassed okay, this is legitimately for wearing. It's like, no, wait, I've got a brass knuckle on my hand. It's like, holy cow, they're so big, man.
It ain't very practical nowadays to walk around with just a goblet on your ring finger, but I'd stash one.
Yeah, but remember, championship rings used to be a little bit bigger than your college class ring.
You could actually
That's
wear it
doable
out the back. Right.
Yeah. Now it's like,
Barry's brash enough. He doesn't care. He'll just wear it wherever. I love that guy. But
exactly. Oh, by the way, the pick is in for the Pelicans, but for some reason ESPN wants to stretch the draft for freaking ever. They're not going to.
Yeah, you love that. You'd sit and watch it all night, man. What else we got to watch?
No, I know, but it's just funny they stretched it into 2 nights. The NBA being 2 nights is the dumbest thing in the world. When and the reason I say this, and it's like we were talking about Brandon, everyone knows 99% of the second round picks, they're not making a roster because everyone's in the same spot that Thunder are. Like, oh, we got our first round pick. That takes the roster. They're all guaranteed. Second round, you're not guaranteed. You're going to the G League. So it's always funny when you see them take 2 nights for another draft.
Well, be honest. I mean, watching the NBA draft year after year, how often, as soon as the Thunder make their pick, wherever they are, do you just change the channel? And you're like, well, that's that.
Exactly. We'll just wait 1 second. The alien is announcing the pick. Guess who went to the New Orleans Pelicans?
Who?
Jeremiah Ferry. That was the reason I wanted to wait. I was like, I have a feeling this might be his fit.
The Pelicans, he's DOA, man. That franchise sucks. Oh, well.
Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of why I was like, let's stretch it out once I saw the pick is in. He's got a sweet jacket.
If you think about it, you've got Buddy Hield in now. You got Trae Young in now. You got Fears in now. Oklahoma's starting to get a decent pipeline. Austin Reeves, yeah. I forget who they call him.
He's going to be on TV next year for the NBA.
Who is?
Blake Griffin. So you got that OU tie there for the TV angle.
There we go. Okay. They're not Duke, but the last year was a good start, for Porter. You get a draft pick now after making the tournament. You got positive momentum. Most importantly, though, you get $1 million from Trae Young. That really spurred things along.
No doubt. All right, we can wrap it up. I just thought we'd do that pick.
I'm going to WD-40 this chair before we do this next time because every time I move, it sounds like I'm ripping ass. I'm not. It's the chair. For Randy Heights, Dave Myrick, anything you want to wrap up with?
I think we're good, man.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll see you in a little bit, and we will talk to you guys down the road.